I'm Greg Giuliano. I'm an executive coach, organizational change consultant, and author. I believe leaders have the power to shape the future and change people's lives. I also believe people who challenge the status quo and go beyond usual and ordinary are rare. They're willing to go to the edge and push farther, over and over again. When I find these ultra leaders, I love to talk with them. In each episode, I talk with ultra leaders to learn how they do what they do and how they keep growing as leaders. I promise you a full dose of ultra leadership from other ultra leaders just like you in every conversation. We're at the edge of another episode. Let's jump in. Welcome to another episode of Ultra Leadership. I'm Greg Giuliano, and my guest today is Howard Shaw. Howard is the VCTO, the virtual CTO of SHI's Integrated Data Center Solutions Division. He has a diverse background in ASIC chip design, infrastructure implementation, IT sales, systems development, and engineering leadership. As the VCTO of IDCS, Howard leads the design and engineering teams for SHI's Integrated Data Center Solutions. These teams consist of pre-sales engineers, technical account managers, solutions consultants, systems engineers, data engineers, and value stream analysts, all working together to orchestrate a magical and best-in-class experience for their customers and partners. In addition to leading these teams, he's also responsible for the continued innovation of processes, tools, and systems to ensure SHI continues to be a leading-edge provider of fully built and production-ready data center infrastructure. Howard's axioms for success are optimize the system, not the components, accuracy over urgency, and if everything is an exception, nothing is exceptional. Howard's been married to his wonderful spouse, Liz, for 19 years. They live in my old neighborhood, Chandler, Arizona, where dogs, like at my house, dogs run the house. They currently own 3 and are fostering 6 puppies from their newest, Potato. Also, Howard practices and competes in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's got his brown belt back in December of 2023. And so there's a lot to get into with Howard. I'm really looking forward to the conversation. Welcome, Howard.
Hey, Greg. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. So there's so much to talk about, but beforehand we were talking about how, as the CTO, you're really working on the business a lot and always trying to innovate or, how do we move the organization forward? So you're always leading the organization and your teams through transformation. And we were talking other clients who are in the same boat, that one of the transformations in the past couple of years is shifting from waterfall to agile in terms of software development and other things. And so I'm curious, that's not just the system or process transformation, but it's really a people transformation. So what have you learned in saying, hey guys, we're going to make this transformation and helping folks through that?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. We deal primarily with the physical data center infrastructure world. So, servers, server components, storage systems, networking, all the other physical accoutrements necessary, cabling and optics and things like that to put the equipment into production. And we were constantly running into issues where, we're missing items that we need to build this solution for various reasons, something lost in transit, long lead times, maybe stuff arrives that's defective or isn't, what we ordered from the manufacturer, but there was just always something not going according to that plan. And, as the different delivery teams and leadership would, roundtable these issues and how we could get better for our customers, I had spent a lot of time with my older brother, who's a senior software engineer, and just got this, I had heard the Agile buzz, and this was 5-6 years ago, and I didn't really know what it was. I didn't really understand it. So I dove into a couple of online LinkedIn courses And so I wanted to get an understanding of just what the heck was Agile. And then they had some specific courses around Agile product development and product manufacturing. And I was instantly convinced. As soon as I watched them, I was like, this is exactly what we need to do. And so I just thought, hey, this is what we're going to do, guys. Let's all get together and row in this direction. This will solve all of our problems. And what I learned was that with a large team of over 100 employees, to really change that direction and get everybody rowing in that direction was much more difficult than me being excited about the idea. And in a kind of ironic or cliche way, we had to adopt Agile in an Agile fashion. Right. So we had to start with kind of the big theme and the big idea. I really encouraged the teams that I worked with, the people that worked for me, to take those same courses. And in various iterations of this, we had, especially from our project management organization, we had some early adopters that also became very passionate about Agile. And so it took a couple of years to really start to transform the mindset from the legacy way that we were doing things and really having this supply chain constraint pain point, to recognizing that if we have this problem, our customers have this problem, our competitors have this problem, and rather than wishing that, we love to say this expression, like, we have all the stuff, when are we going to have all the stuff? And so rather than wishing that would ever come to fruition, especially through COVID, really had major ripples through the IT industry from a supply chain standpoint. We really knew that we had to dive headfirst into this and say, Agile needs to be our mindset. And it's more about, okay, we know what we're going to need to build this full solution. I kind of think about it like assembling IKEA furniture. And so it's, okay, I kind of know what I'm going to need to put together. And so maybe I can put all the drawers together first because I've got all the materials to build the drawers, but I don't have the frame to build the dresser yet, or vice versa. I'm waiting on, the bottoms of the drawers to put together, and I can get a bunch of stuff ready to go so that when those last pieces show up, that's all we're waiting for. And we can get this time to market for our customers much, much quicker than waiting until we have all the componentry on site. And it enabled us to pre-validate equipment, do testing, find issues ahead of time that had we waited, we would find out then and experience more and more project delays. And it really benefited us really from soup to nuts. So from designing the solutions, we approach it in an Agile fashion because working with major OEMs, they are always in constant flux and constant change. And so we have to be nimble there. And then as we go into production, knowing that, these same types of things are going to impact us. And then we also had to innovate systems. We had to innovate a project management tool that would allow us to be very, very flexible and dynamic based on a lot of customizations for the solutions that we're building. And then we had to build a design repository tool that would allow us to design the solutions and accommodate these rapid changes that could quickly be communicated to supply chain management team, to project managers, to the delivery organization.
Yeah. So it's one thing to say, we're going to become an Agile shop, right? That's easy. That's an email. But then the work begins because you say it and then you immediately adopt the Agile mindset. So you're already there. You're in the future. You got all these people, though, who are still here. And so the people transformation is what takes time and energy, because you got to go back and find those people. They're back here today. And where are they in their understanding about why are we making this change? What will the change entail? How's it going to be implemented? What's going to be the impact on my team? What's in it for me ultimately? And so that's the work, right? You've got to, from your place in the future, you've got to constantly be reaching back and finding people where they are in their current state of understanding, adoption, and application and participation in completing the transformation, so that eventually you're all over there going, yeah, we made it. But there's that gap where that takes leadership.
Absolutely. I mean, you brought up essentially all of those pain points of change management. And for me, this really was the biggest organizational change that I had ever led. And I had been leading small teams and making small incremental changes with them. And they had all gone fairly well with a tight knit group of people. It was easy to make these small changes and kind of come to consensus quickly. So I was really caught off guard by how difficult this was and how much of everything that you talked about with the uncertainty, the fear, what's in it for me, why are we making this change? And I think ultimately the things that were keys to success were we had leadership buy-in across the various departments within IDCS. We had the buy-in from all the various delivery teams, from project management, from supply chain. Everybody at the leadership level understood that this was going to ultimately give us the right outcomes. And then we really had to stick to the long-term vision. And then I think one of the other gaps that we had to really communicate was that we're not going to get it right on day one, and we're not going to be perfect, and we're going to make mistakes. But all of those mistakes and all those imperfections are going to create a feedback loop for us. So be open, be honest, give us that feedback, tell us what's working, what's not working. If you have new ideas to bring to the table, let's bring those to the table. And eventually we'll work out all of these kinks. And I can tell you, we've worked out the vast majority of them, but we're still a work in progress. I think that's the nature of Agile is, we are continuously reviewing how we're doing and innovating the systems, process, tools, people in order to continue to get better.
Yeah, it becomes a trait of the culture. Let's test and learn and talk about it and implement changes, right? We're always iterating as we do it. So, and helping folks through transformation is really shaping an experience for them. And we talked about, creating a certain customer experience, and that does begin with the employee experience that you're creating. So I'm curious, when you think about creating an experience for the team that you lead, and then what you're hoping that they replicate and scale with their teams, how are you leading your team, and how are you hoping all of your leaders are taking care of their teams?
So I think one of our keys is to focus on growth and development. So personal growth and development, professional growth and development, and that the things that we're putting in place are changes, they're new, they're uncomfortable, but ultimately they're forward thinking and they're going to allow you as an individual contributor to grow in your career, to be more productive, to have more, whether it's technical acumen or business acumen or process acumen, whatever it is in terms of, this is your focus and your forte. I think the other thing is we really want people to be comfortable with making mistakes, that mistakes are inevitable, they're okay, and we need to take action and then know that if we have a boo-boo, let's go acknowledge it, let's go clean it up, let's learn from it and try to not repeat it again. But knowing that nobody's getting in trouble for making these mistakes because we're trying new things, we're experimenting. So I think really conveying that the focus is on helping them grow and develop and creating an environment and a culture that has that wiggle room, that you can color outside the lines and work through things and figure them out.
Yeah. I love that focus on growth and development, and for two reasons. One is I see in especially more mature organizations where there used to be an expectation that you'd have a job for life, right, at that company. And no company can promise that anymore. So if I can't promise that, what can I promise you? And I can promise you that, well, while you're here, we're going to give you every opportunity we can for you to better yourself. And I think that's what people are looking for now when they join an organization. And what are the opportunities while I'm in this role to begin to develop myself and accelerate my path to what's my next role, be it at this company or at another company? And I think that's a promise that we can make to people versus you'll have a job for life, right? So I love that you all focus on that growth and development piece. So let me ask you, right? So we have to model that. So how do you keep growing as a leader?
So one of the ways is, for me, it's educational. So I am very interested in the work that I do. So I'm very interested in technology. I'm very interested in the IT industry. And so I have some favorite YouTube channels that I'm, always watching, and it's kind of edutainment for me. I'm also a big fan of reading and audiobooks as well as podcasts. And for me, it becomes kind of a triangulation. So the more I hear or read the same pieces of information or the same themes coming from different sources, for me, that builds my confidence that these are probably, tried and true practices or new innovative practices that are going to have traction and be beneficial. I also do my best to kind of eat my own dog food. So when I talk about embracing change, I myself have to accept that the world is always changing, business is always changing. And even though it may not be comfortable at all times, in fact, probably most of the time, I embrace it and go with it as opposed to trying to block it and go against it.
Yeah. So what is a book that right now that you find yourself that you really like, you're enjoying around leadership, or a book that is your go-to if a younger leader is looking for something to read? Is there oh yeah, this is the one, this is the book?
So I'll name a couple, and apologies if I can't remember the authors off the top of my head, but Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
There's another book, I think Larry Bossidy is the author, called Execution.
Mm-hmm.
And not a leadership book, but a Stoic philosophy book called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. I think that I have a lot of influence in those three books in as a leader, in saying it's my fault. I think I got that from Extreme Ownership. It's my fault, but let's put together plans. Let's make a strategy. Let's go execute. And if it goes wrong, it's my fault, and that's okay. I think that Execution was a great book, and I think influenced me around this development idea, and knowing that we want to create an environment that helps us develop our people and build the next leaders and build people up for the next stage in their career. And then The Obstacle is the Way, I think for me, was really about resilience more than anything. And just knowing, stuff is just always going wrong, and you fall down and you get back up and
Right.
you go back at it again.
Yep. Yep. And I have the Daily Stoic on my desk, right? So check it every day. All those are great recommendations. Yeah. So you open the door, I'm going to give a plug, right? So we have a YouTube channel at Ultra Leadership where we post new content every week, and our podcasts are parked there as well as other platforms. And we drop a new newsletter on LinkedIn once a week, sharing out some of our lessons around leadership and guiding teams. And obviously, we have this podcast, which folks are listening to right now. So, yeah, and it's on us that the company can do its part to help you to develop, but it really is. If I told somebody the other day, they wanted to get better at something, and I said, well, don't wait for learning and development, the learning and development office of your company to make it. Go do it. Go scour LinkedIn like you did. I'm going to go learn about Agile. Boom, take a couple LinkedIn courses. Oh, okay, this is what it's about. So be self-directive. No one, as much as your company loves you and wants to help you develop, nobody's going to work harder at your development and your career than you. And so people really need to own that and not wait for the company to take the first step. If you want to get better at something, go start learning, go read, go listen, go talk to someone, find a mentor or a coach, and be in charge of your own development, which is what you do.
Absolutely. And I think it comes down to, for me, it's curiosity and passion. And I think I'm lucky in that I don't know where those came from for me. But I'm just a naturally curious person, and once something becomes interesting to me, I can quickly become passionate about it and want to learn as much about that thing as possible and figure out how to apply it. And even if I go down a rabbit hole that doesn't seem like it's worth all the time and energy I'm putting into it at the moment, oftentimes I find later on down the road, oh, there was that thing that I was diving into 6 months ago. I think this is where I could use that.
Right. And that's why you're here, right? Because that comes across your curiosity, your passion for what you do. Those are fantastic leadership traits. Those are ultra leadership traits because that's not usual and ordinary. There are a lot of leaders who aren't curious. They get to a place and their curiosity's gone and they're not passionate. And so they're leaders in title, but they're not what I would call an ultra leader, somebody who's going above and beyond all the time because they're constantly growing themselves in service of taking care of this team who are doing something on behalf of the customer. And so you're living it. You're walking the walk. So on behalf of your team and your people, thank you for doing that. So I just want to tell you, I'm really grateful for you being here today. It's amazing to me how in a really short period of time, so many lessons about leading folks through change, about creating an environment where people can grow and develop on behalf of their own careers and in service of the company and taking great care of customers. So I'm really grateful for you and thank you for your time and sharing your wisdom today. And I'll give you a shot. What are you grateful for today?
I too, I'm grateful for the opportunity to share with you. I'm grateful that you stumbled across me and had reached out to me to be on the show. And since then, I have been listening to your podcast and really enjoying it. So I'm grateful to have found that. I'm grateful for my family, the dogs, my wife. And I'm really grateful for the organization that I work for and the opportunities that they've continued to put in front of me to allow me to lead, to grow, to be challenged.
Awesome. Howard, thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here. Thanks to you for listening. Please keep commenting, keep sharing us with your friends. We're all on this journey together to become better leaders, better humans. And the path is a daily practice of, seeking out the edge of our comfort and our confidence and our competence and trying to push forward and extend that. And that's how we get better. We do it together. So thank you for listening. And we will see you next time somewhere out on the trail.
If you're enjoying Ultra Leadership, please take a minute and give us a review wherever you find your podcasts. And please stay in touch. Sign up for our Ultra Leadership newsletter at ultraleadership.com. Now, before you jump to your next meeting, I invite you to reflect on what you heard today. What stood out for you? What insight might you want to incorporate into your leadership practice? Until next time, remember, as a leader, you always have the power to shape the future and change lives. So go to the edge and push farther. Thanks for listening.
This is the podcastfactory.com.